In option 2, the students set the pace, and they must demonstrate mastery on stage 2 before the same way, they will take the question, and they will usually do that at the beginning of the topic, and if they don't pass it, they have to go back and study just like the other person did in the other option, all right? But remember, of course, that they're not devised for everybody. You really need to be doing your homework at home, which is stage 1. Now, if you fail to pass stage 2 quiz, you cannot engage any levels 3 or 4 activities. You cannot get points level 3 or 5 until you pass that quiz. So, you must continue to work on learning it until you can pass that quiz. Now, if you're held behind, if the topics keep hitting and you're still behind, you can choose to give up on the topic and move on to the next topic. But then, if the topic is not properly completed, you learn no points for the topic. And when the unit test comes, you have to take the test regardless, and that cannot be skipped. So it's a problem. So you must make sure to do things right. If you do pass the quiz, then you're going to do level 3 and 4 tasks, and then if the student fails to earn enough points before the time for the topic is over, that's okay. You can still work on the topic. It's just that I will say like this, look, the deadline for this topic is technically tomorrow. But if you don't finish it by tomorrow, that's okay. You can keep working on it. The problem is that technically the next topic starts tomorrow. So if you keep going at this slow pace, you're not going to finish all the topics you need to finish at the end of the quarter, which means you're going to fall short. You're going to learn the topics better because you're going at your own time. You study more. You took as long as you needed to pass that quiz, but then you may fall behind. In that option, what ends up happening is that the kid learns each topic better because he's not being dragged. It's not like, deadlines today. But the downside is that if you're going too slow, you end up learning less topics. But research shows that if you actually do it this way, you do better at the test at the end of the year because you learn the topics better that way. And if I keep pressuring you to get with the speed and get with the program, most people end up doing enough topics that they end up doing well. And you can always use before school, after school, lunchtime, free period, anytime like that, or you can come at your own time, do things online, whatever you can to actually earn enough points and move on and speed up. All right? And like on the other option, if you can retake the test or do remediation tasks if you do not pass the test from the first attempt. However, you cannot retake or do remediation tasks if you choose to take the test before you complete all the topics that were part of that test. So that's kind of how it works, the same thing as before. Now, when you use this system, it will basically cause the class to split in groups. Because, depending on how ready you are, how interested you are, how motivated you are, how organized, how dedicated you are to the class, some people will start going through the topics faster than others. They will pass the quiz faster, they will do the activities faster, and they will pass the topic faster, and then hit the next topic faster. And then eventually, you don't have one classroom anymore, but you have many classrooms. And someone's doing evolution, someone's still doing genetics, someone's still doing cytology. And so you're going to divide the class into many groups. Very hard for teachers to manage that. So that's why the Moodle system is very important for that. But at one time then, there might be many different topics going on in the classroom, and with a variety of different students. And sometimes there's teams, people that work together to get through the topics. I really like that because it really allows kids to progress at their speed that they have to. For example, an ESOL student who clearly needs more time with the topics will spend that extra time until they're ready to deal what they have to deal. And that's kind of how it goes. Now, this type of mastery system is really designed to work with a whole course approach. In other words, you get one grade at the end of the course. In other words, you will earn an A if you finish all the topics, a B if you come this many topics short, a C if you earn this many topics short. This option B is supposed to work like that, but the reality of it is that school systems expect a final grade at the end of each term. For example, in my school system, there's 4 terms, or 4 quarters per year, and so I have to figure out a way to come up with a grading system that allows me to give them a grade depending on how they are or what they're doing. But the problem is that once the term is over, student A will be in topic 5, but student B will be in topic 3. So how do you give them a grade how do you put that in the grade book? How do you show to the parents how well the student is doing? How do you tell the state, what grade the student earned that quarter if every student's quarter is different depending on how fast the student is going? So to solve that problem, I adapted the system that the school uses. I use a point system to translate the requirements between quarters. So in other words, at the beginning of each quarter, I tell the student the minimal amounts of points that you have to earn during that quarter to earn a certain grade on that quarter. So that's going to be in the mastery goals, all right? And it's described in the grading section above here for more information. And I'll talk more about that in a second as well. So grading for when students finishes a term without completing the topics that belong to that term, when you start the next term, you will start it with the topic that you're at. So even if you're behind, that means that your end goal for this quarter might be different from the end goal of someone else, which started later than you did. So it doesn't matter where you start each quarter. All it matters is that each quarter you do this many steps. So for example, every quarter you have to do 8 topics, but in the first quarter you only did 6. So when you start the next quarter, you're still on topic 7. But that's okay. As long as you do 8 more topics during the second quarter, you can still earn an A on the second quarter. But you will finish second quarter behind the person who's going at the right speed. Even though you did well in the second quarter, you're still behind that person. That is how the mastery system works. It's kind of complicated, and you can really understand this better once you actually start using it. But the idea is you can only finish a topic once you mastered it. So sometimes kids will fall behind. That's kind of how that goes. Now, grading for each new term then is based on the amount of points established for the goals for that term. That means that even if a student does not catch up by the end of the term, all right, it is still possible to earn the maximum grade so long as they do enough that term and they do not fall further behind. All right. Now, if you finish a term with more points than you needed to earn a certain letter grade on that term, then these extra points will move on to the next term. So you start the next term with a bonus. All right. Now, at the end of the year, the last quarter, if you have enough bonus points and you have no quarters above that, no terms after that, you can get those extra points to throw to one of the quarters that you did bad on, and then I'll change the grade retroactively and improve your grade for that. So that's what's cool about the system too. Let's say, for example, you sucked in the first quarter, you did really bad, but you came up with a vengeance on the second quarter and became a better student. You earn an A in the second quarter, a B in the third, or an A in the third, and an A in the fourth, because you kept doing as much as you needed to do, as many steps as you needed to take that quarter. But you're still behind because you did bad in the first quarter. But if every quarter you do great, better than you're supposed to, eventually you will catch up little by little, to the point that at the end of the year you may just finish the year. And so in that case, I'll go back to that first quarter and give you the grade that you deserve for doing well in the entire year, which is an A. That is very rare, but it's very possible. Now, that's pretty much how the class grade was going to work then, and how the mastery system implements. But on a side note, if you have an EOC course, none of this matters, because at the end of the year, your grade does not come from the class. It comes from the test. So if you get an A in a test, you get an A in a class. You get a B in a test, you get a B in a class, and so forth. So all you've been doing into the mastery system, it was just really a projection of how well you were going to do in the test. So that means that if you're doing bad in every quarter, you're probably going to do bad at the end of your test, and you have to retake the course. So the mastery system is actually a good thing because it helps you create a really good projection of how much you have learned and hold you responsible to your goals so that you can get to the end of the year test and destroy it. But if you don't do that, then it won't work out. But remember too that even if you fail the entire year, you learn absolutely no topics. At the end of the year, if you pass the test, you pass the class. And that's kind of a crazy concept, but it's what they're doing. But it's very rare for a student to do that kind of thing. It's better if you actually learn. And the mastery system is trying to force you to do that. And that's pretty much how that works. Now, it depends on where you're implementing this, but in some places, and I think this is what Florida is doing, your GPA is not determined on the test. I mean, the test determines if you pass the class or not, whether or not you get credit for the class. But how much credit you have, how many GPA points you get, comes from your class grade. And so the test determines if you pass, but how well you pass will determine will be based on the class grade. That's one option that they may use. Or the test may determine your grade, final grade by itself. Regardless of what option it is, you should know about that ahead of time and adapt accordingly to your plans. But one thing's for sure, I am definitely a proponent of having the test determine if you pass or not, but having how many credits you earned be based on the class. But I don't think this is how Florida is doing at the current time that this video was recorded. The test is basically your grade. Now, on either options, students really have the opportunity to perform mastery tests on their own time. I'm usually available before school, after school, during lunch, and if the student has a free period, he's more than welcome to come to my class and do this. And there's a lot of things you can do online through the Moodle website as well. So that's how the grading works. And on the next video, I'm going to be talking about how do I, it's more for teachers, it's an optional video for students. We're going to be talking about how do I choose which option to use and what's better. See you guys then.